Have you ever had one of those days when your mind feels clear, your memory seems sharp, and everything just works? You remember names. You finish tasks without struggling. You feel like yourself again. And then the very next day, you walk into a room and forget why. You lose your train of thought halfway through a sentence. Simple words seem harder to find. And suddenly you wonder, what's happening to me? Why does my brain feel normal one day and foggy the next? If you're over 50, you're far from alone. And perhaps the most confusing part isn't the brain fog itself. It's the inconsistency. Because if something serious were wrong, wouldn't it happen all the time? Why can you feel perfectly fine on Monday and mentally exhausted on Tuesday? Why are some days good and others strangely difficult? The answer may surprise you. Because brain fog isn't always permanent. And many of the things that affect your brain can change from day to day without you even realizing it. Today we'll explore why your mind can feel clear one day and foggy the next, and why these changes may be your brain's way of asking for support rather than a sign that you're simply getting old. Your brain is more sensitive than you think. Many people imagine the brain as something fixed. Either it's healthy or it isn't. Either your memory works or it doesn't. But that's not how the brain works. Your brain is constantly responding to what's happening inside your body. Sleep, stress, blood sugar, inflammation, hydration, hormones, medication, physical activity, even emotions. These factors can change from one day to another. And when they do, your brain changes with them. Think of your brain like a garden. Some days it gets enough water, sunlight, and nutrients. Everything grows beautifully. Other days, conditions are different. The garden struggles. The plants aren't dead. They simply don't thrive under poor conditions. Your brain works much the same way. And after 50, it often becomes more sensitive to these daily changes. One bad night can affect your brain more than you realize. Many people say, "But I slept." Yet sleeping and restorative sleep aren't always the same thing. As we age, sleep becomes lighter. Deep sleep decreases. We wake up more often without remembering it. And poor sleep affects the brain almost immediately. Research shows that even one night of fragmented sleep can impact attention, memory, processing speed, word recall, mood, decision-making, which explains why some mornings feel surprisingly difficult. You may blame aging, but your brain may simply be recovering from a poor night's sleep. And because sleep quality naturally varies, brain fog can vary too. Stress doesn't always feel like stress. One of the biggest misconceptions people over 50 have is believing that stress always feels obvious. But chronic stress can become so normal that you stop noticing it. You adapt. You function. You carry on. Yet your brain never fully relaxes. Stress hormones influence areas responsible for memory and concentration. And the effects don't always appear immediately. Sometimes yesterday's stress becomes today's brain fog. You may wake up thinking, "I don't feel anxious." Yet your nervous system may still be running in the background. Financial worries, family concerns, health fears, loneliness, caretaking responsibilities, loss, uncertainty. These emotional burdens don't just affect the heart. They affect the brain. And some days your brain simply has less energy available. Blood sugar swings can create mental fog. Your brain consumes enormous amounts of energy. It relies on a steady supply of glucose. But after 50, the body becomes less efficient at managing blood sugar. Large fluctuations can leave you feeling mentally sluggish. You might notice brain fog after skipping breakfast, eating too many refined carbohydrates, having sugary snacks, going too long without eating, or eating meals lacking protein and healthy fats. Many people blame themselves. But sometimes the problem isn't memory. It's fuel. Your brain needs stability. And when blood sugar rises and crashes, mental clarity often rises and crashes too, which explains why you can feel sharp one day and cloudy the next. Dehydration can mimic cognitive problems. As we age, thirst signals become weaker. Many adults over 50 simply don't realize they're mildly dehydrated. Even slight dehydration can affect memory, focus, energy, mood, reaction time, word finding. And because dehydration can happen quickly, symptoms may seem to appear out of nowhere. One day you're fine. The next day you feel off. Sometimes the answer is surprisingly simple. Not enough fluids. Your brain is nearly 75% water, and it functions best when properly hydrated. Inflammation can create invisible brain fatigue. Inflammation isn't something you can always feel. You may not have pain. You may not have fever. But low-grade inflammation inside the body can influence how the brain functions. Poor sleep, stress, certain foods, lack of exercise, chronic illness, infections. All of these can increase inflammation, and inflammation affects communication between brain cells. People often describe the sensation as, "My head feels heavy, my thoughts are slower, I just don't feel mentally sharp. I know the answer, but I can't reach it." Sound familiar? Because brain fog isn't always memory loss. Sometimes it's inflammation interfering with efficiency, and inflammation levels can change from day to day, which means your mental clarity can change too. Medication effects can vary more than you expect. Many adults over 50 take medications that are necessary and helpful, but certain medications can influence concentration and memory. Examples include sleep aids, antihistamines, pain medications, blood pressure medications, anxiety medications, and even combinations of medications. Some days the effects may be minimal. Other days, especially if combined with poor sleep or dehydration, brain fog becomes more noticeable. This doesn't mean you should stop medications. Never change medications without speaking to your healthcare provider. But understanding that medications can influence cognition may help explain why your mind doesn't feel exactly the same every day. Your brain also has good days and bad days. Perhaps this sounds strange, but brains aren't machines. They're living systems. Just as your knees may ache more on certain days, just as your energy changes, your brain also has fluctuations. That doesn't automatically mean something terrible is happening. Even healthy brains have variable performance. Scientists sometimes refer to this as cognitive variability, and variability increases with age. This means some days you'll remember names instantly, other days you'll struggle, some days you'll feel energetic, other days mentally slower. That variation alone is not necessarily a sign of dementia. In fact, many experts become more concerned when changes are steadily worsening over time and interfering with daily function, not simply fluctuating from day to day. Hormonal changes continue beyond midlife. Hormones influence far more than most people realize. Changes involving thyroid hormones, insulin, cortisol, estrogen, testosterone can all affect mental clarity. Many people are surprised to discover that hormonal shifts can create symptoms that feel remarkably similar to memory problems, including forgetfulness, difficulty concentrating, mental fatigue, slow thinking, brain fog. These changes may come and go, which explains why symptoms aren't always consistent. And because the symptoms fluctuate, people often wonder if they're imagining things. They're not. Their brain is responding to real biological changes. Sometimes mental exhaustion builds quietly. One of the most overlooked causes of brain fog is simple overload. Not because you're weak, because you've carried too much for too long. After 50, many people are balancing family, work, retirement concerns, health issues, aging parents, adult children, financial pressures, household responsibilities, grief, and years of accumulated stress. The brain isn't designed to carry endless pressure without consequences. Eventually, mental fatigue appears, not all at once, but gradually. Some days you have enough reserve, some days you don't, which creates the feeling that your brain is unpredictable. But perhaps it isn't unpredictable at all. Perhaps it's tired. When should you pay attention? Occasional brain fog is common, but certain symptoms deserve medical attention, especially if changes are rapid, persistent, progressively worsening, interfering with finances, medications, driving, or daily tasks, accompanied by confusion, associated with personality changes, or noticed by family members. Conditions such as vitamin deficiencies, thyroid problems, sleep apnea, depression, medication interactions, diabetes, and other medical conditions can sometimes mimic cognitive decline, which is why it's important not to dismiss symptoms or panic unnecessarily. Getting answers is always better than guessing. The goal isn't perfect memory. Perhaps this is the most important thing to remember. Your brain doesn't need to perform perfectly every single day. Nobody's does. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is resilience, supporting your brain with better sleep, hydration, movement, balanced meals, stress management, social connection, mental stimulation, and regular medical checkups. These small habits don't guarantee that every day will feel perfect, but they help create more good days, and that's what matters. Because having a foggy day doesn't mean you're losing yourself. Having trouble finding a word doesn't automatically mean dementia. Feeling mentally slower after a difficult week doesn't mean your brain is broken. Sometimes your brain is simply responding to the conditions around it, and just as those conditions change, so can your clarity. If you've been wondering why your brain feels fine one day and foggy the next, remember this: fluctuation doesn't automatically mean decline. Your brain is alive, dynamic, sensitive, responsive, and after 50, it often reflects what's happening throughout the rest of your body. So instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" perhaps a better question is, "What is my brain trying to tell me today?" Because sometimes brain fog isn't a sign that you're failing. It's a message, a quiet reminder that your brain, like the rest of you, needs care. And with the right support, tomorrow may feel very different from today.
Before we conclude, a quick reminder. The information shared in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this channel. Your health is your most valuable asset. Treat it with the professional care it deserves.